Musty old man perfume or modern Chypre masterpiece? Let's find out. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a practical review of 1740 by Histoires de Parfums. These reviews are for fragrances I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears in many situations, and are meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, I do a lot of research before buying fragrances, but I don't really like to go into details about notes in a course because I don't think that they help the end user. I'd rather talk about the wear experience as a whole. It really makes me happy when talking about underrated houses and underrated products. There's something about giving credit where credit is due that I find extremely satisfying, and Histoires de Parfums is that kind of house. They make exceptionally good products that really fly under the radar. All of their products are very good. I never found anything that I wasn't really happy about. I tried several. Everything from the packaging to the concept and marketing to the design and development to the way the actual product is top tier. And all this is found at an actually very approachable fair price. Similarly to Serge Lutens, once again, these are criminally underpriced and easy to find at discounters, at least in Europe. In Europe, 60 ml bottles like this one here start at about 50 euros, which is absolutely amazing for the quality you're getting. I think this one here hovers around 70 bucks for 60 ml, and this might be due to the fact that this is one of the more popular from the house. I'm not really sure. But anyway, nonetheless, 70 bucks for this type of thing, absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it right away. Histoires de Parfums is a very fun and unique type of house. Everything from the packaging, as I said, is very well done. This one here comes from the Dates collection or something like that, where basically each fragrance is named after a date and inspired by a specific type of character or maybe even location, something like that. But 1740 is inspired by Marquis de Sade, which is known for being the father of sadism, basically. And this fragrance is known to be very animalic, very skanky, very dirty. And this is often associated to like body odor, to sweat. It has a musty feeling. And that's why in the beginning I said vintage old man fragrance. This one here is definitely not a fragrance that I would consider specifically mass appealing. It's not for everyone. You have to have an acquired taste. You have to be sort of into vintage style perfumes, or you have to be into just weird, different animalic type of perfumes. I can easily say that if you're a fan of Francesca Bianchi's work, this one here will be right up your alley and is pretty much blind buy safe. Back to the date concept, I think it's really cool and well done in this case. I've seen other fragrance houses being inspired by historical figures and events. The first one that comes to mind is Masque Milano. They have a lot of fragrances inspired by either fictional characters or existing characters. In one of my last first impression videos, I reviewed or gave my first impression on Hemingway by Masque Milano. That was okay. I think that Histoires de Parfums really pulls this off better than most. Other than this one here from the Date collection, I also have Jules Verne, which is, I think it's 1828. That is a very fresh eucalyptus type of summery frag. I really like that. It's very unique. I also was intrigued by the one inspired by Casanova, which apparently is a clove lavender fougere. Again, there's a lot to explore. There's a lot of other fragrances in the brand that are not necessarily date related. Another standout from the brand is Fidelis by Julien Rasquinet, which apparently has a similar flavor to The Moon by Frédéric Malle, also by Julien Rasquinet, wonder. Another one is Amber 114 or something like that. But again, Histoires de Parfums, underrated house. I think it scores high in every category. Very fun, very much worth checking out. Before we get into the scent profile for 1740, let's talk about the presentation because this is noteworthy. Histoires de Parfums, as I said, they have top marks in presentation, and the bottles feel beautiful, they feel solid. Even the box is nice. The box is pretty standard. It has like a sleeve and it's a white cardboard box, but it does feel premium and well put together. The bottle itself feels solid. They feel well made. They have a unique shape. The cap is metal, even though it comes across as similar to the ones from Profumum Roma, which are plastic. This is thick metal, it's heavy, it's beautiful. The atomizer too is absolutely amazing. They spray well. Let's get a couple sprays. I wore this as my scent of the day. This is a beautiful daily wear and signature scent worthy, but we'll talk about that later. My God, the scent is so beautiful. The labeling is really well done on these bottles. Basically, we have this label here, which is a sticker, but it's very metallic. It feels well made, very well printed, and very well stuck on. I also like the labeling on the front. I think it's painted on. It says Histoires de Parfums, but you can't really read it because the cool thing about these is that the 60 ml bottles are made to resemble half of the 120 ml bottles. And basically the writing that you see is like the half portion of it. It's just so cool. It's so characterful. I really like the concept. And I actually prefer the 60 ml bottles to the 120 ml bottles. I think that they're more unique. It's definitely a different shape. And even the way you're encouraged to put them on the shelf, they're space saving, they look cool, easy to read, and easy to recognize. Overall, top marks in presentation for me. This is really great. I really don't have anything to complain about. It's really amazing work. And especially for the price, you really can't get any better. So let's talk about the scent profile for 1740. It's a very complex fragrance. It's a very well put together fragrance. It's very well designed and well balanced. So what is 1740, also named Marquise de Sade? I think they dropped the name because it wasn't really marketing friendly, by the way. Anyway, this fragrance is pretty much a modern Chypre fragrance. And if you don't know what a Chypre fragrance is, it's basically a fragrance which is, it has this aromatic, ambery, leathery aspect to it. Basically, it starts very aromatic and floral. Well, Chypres also vary a lot, but they start with these aromatics. They start fresh. They might have some citruses at the top. Then they transition to this very heavy type of floral mid. And the base is usually characterized by something like an amber or a leather. The fragrances in the Chypre genres usually wear very heavy. They're very opulent. They're very decadent. And it's a style of perfumery which is often associated to like vintage style, because a lot of the vintage style perfumery adopted this style of formula because, again, first of all, it was popular, but then it's also very effective. The fragrances are balanced, they wear easily, they're signature scent worthy, but they can come off as a little bit stuffy and hard to wear. A lot of the fragrances in this genre come across as challenging. Some of them feature heavy florals, which come across as animalic, maybe actual animalic notes like honey, like leather, or even civet, castoreum, etc. I would say that this one also comes across as quite skanky, although kind of lacking the strong animalic component. I think that the most animalic part in this is the leather, maybe the immortelle, but I don't think there's anything like castoreum or civet or recreations of that in a synthetic world. Nonetheless, this wears heavy. This fragrance has a lot of body, has a lot of presence. And despite that, I would say that the fragrance is quite wearable. It's very well tuned, balanced. It has a nice dynamic range. There are nice top notes. There are very base notes. Even the projection and longevity are very well tuned. They don't really offend anyone. I think that this is surprisingly wearable. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does this actually smell like? What kind of impression do you get when wearing this? First of all, the opening. The opening is characterized by this very sweet kind of molasses, very syrupy type of feeling. It has some zing, it has some tartness to it. Maybe it's due to some citruses. I don't really know, I don't really care about the notes. But there's definitely something there that gives it a little bit of lift. It doesn't feel too stuffy to me. There's definitely some alcohol in there, and this is beyond the initial evaporation of the ethanol in the fragrance. This is more intentional. It feels like a liquor. It feels boozy. It feels like a wooden barrel that's like soaked in liquor. This is not necessarily a boozy fragrance per se, and this sort of boozy note really sticks around in the top. The top of this fragrance, surprisingly, really reminds me of something like Nasomatto Baraonda, but this is a lot more delicate, a lot more round, and a lot more smooth. And smoothness is actually the term that really comes to mind when talking about this fragrance. The whole thing is very well put together. It comes across as a unified wave of smell, It's very perfumey in a way, but it's still very evocative. Speaking about the dynamic range in the opening, together with those top notes I talked about, you also get a ton of base and body. There are these very heavy florals. There is this leather background. There's sort of like a skanky muskiness that starts peeking its head out. That musty, sweaty muskiness is the characteristic of the dry down for this fragrance, but you can easily start detecting it even from the opening. It's really interesting, it's really mysterious in a way, and I don't feel that it's off-putting at all. Any type of harshness from the leathers or from the animalics are really kept into check by this syrupy sweetness. And again, this might be due to the Immortelle. I like Immortelle, and actually the body of this fragrance really reminds me of Interlude Woman, and that's actually another Chypre which is beautiful. And again, Chypre fragrances are built in a specific way which is pretty recognizable. If you smelled stuff from Amouage like Jubilation Woman, like Interlude Woman, stuff from Francesca Bianchi like the Black Knight, maybe even the Lover's Tale, they're all built sort of the same way, and it's a very recognizable type of imprint. I really like it, but I have to admit that it is a little bit of an acquired taste. If you're the type of fragrance user which appreciates weird smells, likes animalics, you're interested in experiencing new things, and you're basically over the smell good fragrances, by all means, nothing wrong with that, you will probably eventually graduate to appreciating Chypre fragrances. They're not, I would say, mass appealing, but once you get into that mindset, that something really clicks and you really understand how elegant, wearable, and beautiful these are, and you really get to understand why this type of fragrance has been sticking around for so long. The base of the fragrance is definitely characterized by those musky notes. It's animalic, it's a little bit skanky, but it's not completely off-putting. I would say that this is definitely a couple notches above Francesca Bianchi, a couple notches above Nasomatto in terms of appreciability. And even if you're new to this type of perfume, if you're getting started and you're interested, I feel that 1740 is actually one of the better places to start to really appreciate this type of fragrance construction. Does this mean that 1740 is unwearable? Absolutely not. I do think that you do need some sort of a confidence to pull this off in an effective manner. You need intentionality, you need an attitude, but overall, it's not that extreme at all. It's beautiful, it's elegant, and it's decadent. And I don't think that anyone would really question it much if not for the marketing itself. This is a little bit more of a presence type fragrance. You really want to announce your character and your intentionality. And this works well in office environments, I think, if you go easy on the sprays. It works well in special events, it works well in evenings. Again, it comes across as very elegant, refined, a little bit old-fashioned just because of the type of scent profile. But yeah, overall, very wearable, very versatile. If you're a little bit more mature, and not because mature like old manish, but you tend to find yourself in more elegant situations, which again happens as you grow older. And if you're that kind of individual, I think that this is absolutely signature scent worthy. Season-wise, I would say that this leans a little bit heavier. I would not necessarily wear this in the heat of summer just because it can come across as a little bit stuffy. But for fall, winter, beautiful. For spring, I think also, but I would probably go for something with a little bit more of a fun, like rejuvenating vibe. Histoires de Parfums has a ton of fragrances in this range. You can definitely get something that easily complements this, that is more suitable maybe for spring and summer, but that still retains that kind of like refined, elegant vibe. In the office, this has been generally well received. No one has questioned it. I even got nice looks like, hey, you smell good. I can really perceive when my presence is a little bit more planted in the room. And this one here really helps you have that sort of confidence and presence. I feel that this could be a great scent if you want to present yourself, maybe not necessarily in a job interview, you want to be a little bit more humble and cautious, but if you want to sell something, if you want to sell an idea or present a project to a crowd, this is absolutely amazing. The way I spoke about this scent till now really revolves around masculine type of concepts. Do I think that this is a masculine scent? Maybe. It definitely accentuates masculine traits and masculinity in general, but I don't think it's necessarily unwearable for a female. I think that this could be suited to a more strong female personality. Maybe again, in a work environment, if you come across as like busy and like down to business, this could be your scent. And again, this is inspired by a lot of cheaper fragrances, and cheaper fragrances were initially developed for women. And if you go back and smell something like Mitsuko, which was originally a women's fragrance, there's a lot of similarities in something like this. Overall, in this modern fragrance landscape with all these blue fragrances full of synthetics, all these overly sweet fragrances, a lot of vanillas and gourmands, something like this is a breath of fresh air. I'm not all about the vintage perfumery and it was better before. I appreciate new things, but this one here really is unusual for today's perfumery. And again, I think it's a really valid alternative if you want to experiment something new, if you're open-minded, if you want to experiment on underrated house, which has a lot to offer. This could be exactly a scent that you're looking for, the scent to break that monotony. I really like Histoires de Parfums. I really like what they represent, their concept, their boldness, their execution. If nothing else, do yourself a favor, get a sample pack, sample these, and then purchase something that you like. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It always helps the channel and it's massively appreciated. If you want to interact with me, feel free to leave a comment, suggestion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Until the next video, until the next review, many more to come. See ya and cheers.